everybody. I'm Cassidy, one of your Indianapolis Colts cheerleaders, and you're watching the Bleav in Colts podcast.
What's going on, Colts Nation? I'm Lawrence Owen. With me, as usual, is Jerraud Powers. We're back with Bleav in Colts. Jerraud, how are you doing this Monday morning?
Doing good, man. Ready to start the week off. I'm doing great. How about yourself?
I'm doing. Had a lot of good football over the weekend. A lot of interesting things that came up, and we're going to get into that, especially the Colts versus Lions. We're also going to talk a little bit about cut blocks and the opinions that are kind of rolling around, not just through the NFL, not just through social media, obviously, but through the NFL. Players and coaches and how we think about these things. But before we get started with that, I just want to say that I apologize. The last broadcast was supposed to be one of the Bleav shirts that we were going to give away. I've got it right here. We're going to go ahead and give that away right now. The heck with it, early on. But you're going to have to stay for the word or phrase to get in on the next one. But we're going to give this away today. The word, phrase, name that was on that you were supposed to put in was Jerraud Powers. 12 people put that in the comment section. Showed Jerraud. Give me a number between 1 and 12.
7.
7. That's awesome. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. That is Sean Davis, ladies and gentlemen. Congratulations, Sean Davis, for getting a Bleav shirt signed by a whole bunch of Colts players, some coaches, Matt Taylor, things of that nature. Hit me back in this video. I will have a pinned tweet for you to reply to, and we will get together and I can get a shipping address from you. But congratulations. And now let's talk about betting. Yeah, that's right. Bet online is the fastest and easiest way to wager on all your favorite sports, contests, and events with first-to-market odds and lines. Find reviews and news for every league, including Major League Baseball, NFL, NBA, NHL, combat sports, esports, even golf. BetOnline continues to be the top online resource for all your sports information, from live in-game betting, props, and futures. Head to BetOnline today or use your mobile device to join and make your first sports bet. Use our promo code BLEAV50, that's BLEAV50, to receive your 50% welcome bonus on your first deposit. Bet online, where the game starts. Well, Jerraud, this past Saturday at 1 o'clock, we had an interesting game against the Detroit Lions. Just kind of overall, what was your thought process as you was watching this game?
Knowing that the starters wasn't going to play and it was going to be more of the reserve guys, you knew it was going to be some mistakes out there. You knew it was going to be groups of guys that probably haven't been with certain, groups as far as rotation, ones, twos, threes, and all that. So new faces. I thought it was good. I thought a couple players stood out. This is what you're kind of looking for in those games. You're looking for some young guys, role player type guys that kind of stand out and do their thing, even though the statistics or the way the game is played might not look, how you expect it to look. But it was a few players out there that I felt like took advantage of the opportunity of getting those reps like they did.
Absolutely. Now we're going to talk about a few of those players. I do want to kind of bring up a little worrisome part, in my opinion. And, obviously, you can do all you want when it comes to disciplining me for saying, why are you breaking down preseason games? It's not important. But the run defense is a little bit worrisome for me. Okay.
I agree.
And I'm curious, do you think this is a talent situation or a scheme situation with Gus Bradley wanting his defensive line to shoot gaps rather than hold gaps?
It's hard to say either. It looked like just misfits. It looks like players just not fitting how they supposed to fit or having mistakes, which will happen in preseason, will happen a lot. But you look at some of the reports or you hear some of the stories coming out of camp, and it sounds like that's been kind of an issue throughout camp. But it's still fixable. Still, nothing is, counting as we speak. The season is still a few weeks away. But a little concerning. You definitely, it don't matter what group in or, who's playing the game. You definitely don't want to, give up the run in any type of matter, whether it's practice or in a preseason game. So I'm a little concerned when it comes to that a little bit. But overall, not that worried yet, if that makes sense.
Yeah, yeah, I get you, and again, that's where I'm sitting at. I'm kind of like, well, maybe this is more of a situation where O line or the D line coach Nate Ollie or Gus Bradley are just like, don't worry about filling your gaps and hit. I want to see what you could do in this situation when it comes to pressure wise or something like that.
Oh no,
You don't think so?
trust me, these coaches don't do that. If you're supposed to hit a
Oh,
certain gap, I mean, you got to think these guys are getting evaluated to do their job. So it's not a coach out there telling a player to just go out there and play, make plays or whatever, whatever the call is, whatever the stunt is, whatever the fit or the responsibility for each player. I mean, that's how they're getting evaluated. Every player get grade sheets, after games, that next day after you watch film to show you if you got a plus or a minus for each rep that you played. And, if you got a bunch of minuses on your grade sheets, you're probably not going to make the team. So it's definitely a situation where I think guys are just having mistakes within the scheme, just trying to understand what they have or what they got from a responsibility standpoint. But I wouldn't say it's a scheme problem because everybody know a cover three style scheme, you're pretty gap sound in the run defense just because you normally have about 8 in the box.
okay, okay. Um, you said that there was some guys that stood out for you as a defensive back. Was there any guys in the secondary that stood out to you that
Man, 25, Harvard. I just went blank dead on his name. Safety. It was hard. The draft pick, 6th round.
oh crap.
I just went
I
blank
got
dead on his dang name. I can't remember his name. I was just dang watching him.
I
But
got you. I got you. I got it right here.
um,
Hold on. 25, Rodney Thomas.
Rodney Thomas. Yes, just seeing him flying around, open field tackles, seemed like to have an idea on where he needs to be. But seeing him come out of the middle of the field where a couple of those runs spat out to where they're like guys are coming free untouched in the secondary, those are hard tackles to make. So watching him kind of fly around and make some tough tackles and some tough situations. I think he had himself a good game, far as when you go back and watch the film from a coaching standpoint, effort plays and things like that. I thought he really stood out, especially in that first half.
Awesome. Awesome. Yeah. Now there was a lot of praise when it come to a couple pass rushers out there with the Colts. Obviously Dio Dangbo had himself a nice day.
I can't say
Um,
his name. I've been trying to say his
I,
name.
I,
How
I
you say the last name? How you say it?
oh Dangbo.
Oh, Dangbo. Oh,
Yes,
Dangbo.
but there is another guy that I have an issue with a very similar name. I think it's Ode Nigbo,
Okay.
who is also a defensive end that the Colts picked up right this
Right.
year. So and both of them actually played pretty good. I think this past game against the Lions, and the Lions have a pretty stout offensive line when you look at it that way. Now, obviously, don't know about depth wise.
Mm-hmm.
Because these are your twos down basically that we saw this week.
Right.
Um, but I liked what I saw from that when it came to the pass rush situations. Thank you for watching Jerraud Powers and I here on Bleav in Colts, part of the Bleav Podcast Network. Don't forget to smash that like button, hit subscribe if you're not subscribed, and tag that notification bell so that you're notified next time we upload a video or go live. And don't forget, you can hit that little red share button, help us out a lot with exposure and getting our stuff out to more fans. Now, let's get back to the video. Offensively, who were some guys that stood out to you there?
I mean, I know every week we keep saying it. We're watching that wide receiver room, so to see Patton and Strachan, them, those guys, make plays look effortlessly. It's kind of cool. But to see Ehlinger, just to see his continued consecutive weeks of success while he's playing. I mean, it just gives you a boost of confidence that you just see the development starting to happen with a few guys, and you hopefully that it can just mix together with the first groups. But I think the wide receiver guys, the people that's fighting for those last couple spots, I definitely think that they're making it hard on the coaches to decide, who's what.
Okay. And so Michael Strawn, I just wanted to bring up the fact that Mike Strawn just came off of the PUP list just a few days prior to the game and was able to make an impact the way he made. Is that how impressive is that to come off of that situation, not been able to practice but 2 days prior and still make that kind of an impact for a young man like him?
I think it's very impressive, especially because he hasn't, gotten any live game reps in a while. He's been dealing with an injury and I think off-season surgery or whatnot, trying to get back healthy. And just to see him go out there and look like nothing's wrong, look like everything is 100%. And his size, man, I mean, he looked the part. He looks like, one of those old school style big receivers, that can body guys. He might not be the greatest route runner, or it might not look like a speedster, but when you go out there and you're live against him, that stride link, I mean, he really covers ground. So to see him, and he looked healthy and he looks confident as well. I mean, it was good to see. I would like to see him with the ones. I just like to see him in the mix with Matt Ryan and that one group, just to see how he looks. So I'm gonna hold off, but I want to say that he's gonna be a big deal for that wide receiver room. Just from a size standpoint, I think he can really help out.
Patmon, over 100 yards receiving, had that very interesting touchdown. Oh my goodness, where he caught the ball and then fell backwards and then flipped himself over and reached out for the touchdown. Had himself a game. Looked pretty good. What do you think about? Do you think he's played himself into that into that 53-man roster?
I think so, just off of his assurance. Just like last year, he had a great preseason. I mean, I think he showed that he's consistent with his work, and I think they know what they can get out of him. He just seemed like a guy that's going to take advantage of his opportunities. It seemed like every opportunity he had out there last week, he was just trying to make the most of it, whether it was an underneath catch, trying to get extra yards, whether it's down the field catch, trying to score the touchdown. Just seems like he's trying to make the most of his opportunities. But I think he's starting to show that he's a pretty consistent guy of somebody that you can rely on. And it's tricky, man. I want to say yeah, he's worked his way into that 53 man. But I mean, I guess it's a good problem to have when you got these young receivers starting to step up. And like we said, it was the biggest question going into the offseason, with that wide receiver room. Are we going to sign a vet? Are we going to bring this person in? Are we going to sign this person? And just to see guys starting to step up to try to, take over some of these roles that's been needed, I guess, in that room. It's pretty cool to see.
Absolutely. Especially, I mean, from the get-go, Colts fans and national media have been screaming about, hey, the Colts need to get a veteran receiver. They need to go out and sign a free agent. And Ballard and Reich have been pounding the table all offseason. We like our talent that we had. They just need reps. They don't have that experience. And right now, as of last game, to me, it seems like they are showing that. Now, obviously, it's preseason game, and you're playing against, your 3s, 4s, 5s, 6s. They're still NFL players. A lot of those guys out there are going to be on NFL teams. They're going to be NFL players. So we have to remember that they're still some of the best players in the world, right? So, I mean, come on. Sam Ehlinger, you brought him up. There is, a lot of blowing up on social media about Sam Ehlinger needing to be the number 2 quarterback, right? I'm sure you've seen it. Now, look, in my opinion, this is my opinion of this. Does he look better than he did last year? Absolutely. Somehow, some way, I've seen him do something I very rarely ever see quarterbacks do, and that's increase their throwing power. All right. He really, to me, it looks like he increased his throwing power. looks like his experience a year in the NFL looks like his happy feet kind of slowing down a little bit. The game looks like it might be slowing down a little bit for him. He's looking downfield when he's under pressure and scrambling rather than just taking off and trying to get yardage. Not always taking the check down as well. He does look better, but I have to keep reminding myself where he's playing right now. I would like to see him up there with some, like you said, you're not going to see him with the ones though, because that's where Matt Ryan's going to be. And if not him, probably Nick Foles. What are your thoughts on Ehlinger and where we stand with him?
I think he's still a developing project. I don't think anybody within the organization is looking at him as the savior this year or next year or anything like that. But I do think it's people in the organization that's behind him, that believes in him. And I mean, it's a reason why you get drafted at a quarterback. You don't waste, any draft pick on a quarterback that you don't think that can potentially have some type of vital role in your system, which is either the starter or the main backup. And right now, of course, I don't think he's ready to be the number 2 guy, just because we've seen over the past couple years, if anything happened to your number 1, your number 2 needs to be ready to win a game, needs to be ready to take the same team to the playoffs. It can't be a huge drop off. And I still think that Sam, even though we've seen the improvement and the development, which is great to see, if you take Matt Ryan out and put Sam in, you're going to see a huge drop off. You take Matt Ryan out and put Nick Foles in, yeah, it's a drop off, but Nick Foles has won big time games in the NFL, which you go into the game confidently thinking that you can win with Nick Foles as well. With Sam, it's still a question mark. Not saying that he can't be that guy. I'm just saying that his opportunity for the number 2 guy, I don't think he's ready for that. I think they're looking at him like each week this preseason, we need to see some progression. We need to see you get better. You'll come back, be the scout team quarterback to go against this great defense, that we're going to have all year long. Your job is to try to eat these guys up day in, day out. And then before you know it, we're going to be looking up 2 years from now, 3 years from now, saying like, damn, we got a good backup quarterback, or we got a good starting quarterback, just depending on what his ceiling is, what they think his ceiling is, and where he'll fit within the organization as far as his role. But I love the progression. I mean, he looks great out there. Hitting guys in stride, commanding the offense. He seems confident in every throw and every decision that he makes. So I think as a fan, you can't ask for no more than that, as long as you just continue to see the improvement.
So I'm take it that you are more than comfortable with using a roster spot on the 53 man to make sure you keep Ehlinger.
No question. Yes.
Okay.
Ellinger is safe. No question.
Okay. Awesome. I was just curious because I remember last offseason, they thought they were going to do that with Eason and get him on the practice squad, and Seattle's like, or was it Seattle? Yeah, it was Seattle. I'm pretty sure it was like, no. We're going to take him. And hey, you know what? He looked good this past weekend as well. So congrats on Jacob Eason. Let's talk about this upcoming game just a little bit. Frank Reich was talking about starting all the ones up to a half this upcoming weekend against the Buccaneers. And it's a late Saturday game, I believe, like 7:30, I think it is, Eastern Standard Time. And he said, give or take how things are flowing, he wants to make sure that his thought was, we got to start off strong. We want to make sure everybody's in sync and stuff like that. What are your thoughts on playing the starters for an entire half on the third preseason game?
Initially, I was thinking that the starters weren't going to play at all, just thinking it's the last preseason game. But you do get a bye or extra days after the preseason, and you don't want the starters to have 2 weeks in a row of not getting any live game reps, even though we had the joint practice with the Lions where, they got some great reps going ones-on-ones with a different team. It is different on game day, going through your routine, going through the progressions of everything, waking up in the morning, getting ready, just all the little nuances that go into game day, getting the live reps, getting ready. You want your guys to have their routine all down, set, ready to go. And he's right. You want the guys to be sharp going into it. And thinking back on it, yeah, 2 weeks off of the starters not playing is probably not a good idea at all. So I can understand him trying to treat this as a dress rehearsal the best that he can. But at that same token, I'm sure certain guys that's going to have, even though he's saying everybody's going to go for a half, I'm sure certain guys are going to get took out a little bit earlier than some. But your main guys are definitely going to be in there for that first half. And it looks like he's going to treat this as the dress rehearsal. So I expect the Bucs probably to go through the same thing, treating it like a dress rehearsal. So it should be some good football for that first half for sure.
You talked about you would like to see certain wide receivers with the ones. Would you, for instance, maybe take out Michael Pittman in like the second quarter and put Strachan in just to see what he looks like with Matt Ryan or something if you were the coach?
No, I think they're going to be in the rotation anyway. I mean, when you think about how the game goes in a game, 3 wide receivers are not the only ones that's getting reps. They get tired too and have to have subs come in and, all that type of stuff. So I think he's going to be live within this first half of getting reps. Now, it matter if he's getting 10, 12 reps, who knows how that's going to go. But I do think he's going to get in there with the ones, and he might get an opportunity or two if it's, within the, I guess, the script of things on who gets what targets or who needs to get what type of action. So I don't think he'll just be sitting out, watching the top 3 guys just do their thing. I think everybody within, those first 6 wide receivers are going to probably get a rep or two at minimum with the ones. So I should see everybody just live ready to go, especially when we're talking about a half of football.
Jonathan Taylor has yet to take a snap in a live game so far this year. Do you think he plays even with the ones this weekend?
He might. I'm not going to put it past Coach Wright, but if it's me, like I said, he's the most important player in your organization right now. I don't think you risk the beating, but he do need live reps though before the season starts. So I can see him maybe doing the first series and coming out. So yeah, I can see him in there with the ones to start the game and all that. But he's one of the ones that's like, yeah, go get you 6-7 plays and let's get you back out of there. Just to get your feet wet so you can get hit a little bit, go to the ground, all that type of stuff. And, once they see that, I think they'll get him up out of there because we got to make sure that guy, we know he's going to take a pounding this year at the end of the day. So we don't need any extra hits when it don't count.
Yeah, I got fully under. I mean, he had a lot of touches last year, and he had a lot of touches out there in Wisconsin. And you talk to a running back and they're going to be like, that don't matter, but I mean, come on. I mean, every time you get hit, it takes a toll on your body. Right.
Yep.
So we gotta limit that as much as possible, but still keep him fresh enough to be playing at his best every time he does touch the ball. So I get where you're coming from on that. When it comes to the games, whether it be Lions or this upcoming game against the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, is there anything else you want to touch on?
I mean, last preseason game, get the guys in, get them wet the first half, let them feel the real seriousness of true game-like situations and get them up out of there and get ready for week 1. Just hope nothing happen to anybody that when it comes to getting banged up or anything like that. So that's my only thought going into this last preseason game. Even though I want the ones and everybody I'm ready for that type of action. At that same token, I hope week 1 everybody is 100% and not 90, not 85, not 80. That week 1 I want everybody 100% just ready to go.
Absolutely. And so far, the only real significant, I mean, a concussion is significant in my opinion because you never know, long-term wise how that's going to affect the player. But the only IR guy that we had wasn't even during a game. It was during a practice, and it wasn't even, it was a non-contact situation with Drew Ogletree. But hopefully pound the table. We don't have anything, right, that occurs in that instance going into week 1. No, good thing, like you said, we got like 2 weeks where people could sit and rest up and get healthy afterwards. So
Right.
that's always a very good thing. This channel is proudly sponsored by the Backroom Collection. They do beautiful sports canvas art with football, basketball, baseball, and other sports themes. Special orders are accepted and autograph pieces are available. Many Indianapolis Colts signed pieces will be available beginning in November. Just use your discount code CL10 to purchase the pieces you want to spice up your living area. That's CL10. Now let's talk about cut blocks. It's a pretty big topic right now across social media and the NFL after what happened. I might be mispronouncing it. Is it Thibodeau?
Thibodeau, yep.
Thibodeau, yeah. He was cut blocked. Went down, grabbed his knee. Obviously, we all hope that long term he's going to be okay. But people are split here when it comes to cut blocks. A lot of people say that is a dirty block in the NFL, and not only should it be banned, but it should, you should be fined and suspended for making it. What are your thoughts on the cut block itself?
On the play itself, it looked dirty. It looks bad, but I don't think the player intention was that. I just think the situation kind of made it look that way. I think Thibodeau kind of lost his footing a little, not lost his footing, but when he went to thinking that the contact was going to happen, I think his pads weren't as low as it probably should be to initiate the contact that he was, getting, I guess, preparing himself for. So it left his leg a little vulnerable. And then the offensive lineman at the angle he was coming at, that's what I mean by it. They were just at two different angles to where it just looked bad. But I don't think the lineman's intention was to, do anything that was dirty, even though it looked dirty. But at that same token, the cut block is dirty, if that makes sense. I think they got a rule in place now that, for pulling linemen, corners can't come in and they can't cut linemen no more on blocks or anything like that. So they have to hit linemen up high, which we're talking about 180-pound type corner going against 300-pound type linemen. And they're telling, defenders that you have to hit these guys high if they're coming at the same. So if there's like a crack toss type play, so let's just envision that type play, running play, crack toss, wide receiver cracks down on the linebacker, blocks him. So you have a pulling guard that's coming around with the running back right behind him. You're telling a corner that he has to take on that block high and not try to chop the lineman down to kind of cause some ruckus. So the running back kind of don't know where to go. So I think in that same token, when we're talking about the cut blocks within the box of things, defensive linemen and all those type things, I think it's dirty just because, we're talking about guys that's about the same size, or if they're not the same size, they're big enough to handle each other and hit each other high. So there's really no point of trying to go low on one another. And cut blocks for it's same situation when we're talking about running backs. Cutting big defensive linemen, everybody can look at that as like, yeah, that can be dirty or looked on as dirty as well. But, at that same token, how else are you going to tell a 200-pound running back to block a 330-pound defensive lineman? So it has to be some type of give and take. So that, because that's the same situation as we're talking corner, but they're not letting the corners do that anymore. So as a running back, you can still protect yourself and do it, but defenders, we have to play a different way. So I think you get a lot of defensive guys saying it's dirty just because there's no rules for us. There's no rules to protect our guys. We're always the one that's just got to take it for what it is. So I can understand why our side, the defensive players, defensive-minded people are upset. Just because it just always seems like we're protecting the opposite side of the ball in the offense. The whole game is designed to protect them and not necessarily us. So I hope Thibodeau's knee is okay. I hope he's not seriously injured or anything like that. But it is a legal block. I mean, within the rules, we can't say that anything that player did was wrong. But just like everywhere else, there's certain etiquettes. There's certain unwritten laws, that people try to abide by within the sport. But I don't think this was a situation where the player was doing something, intended to hurt the guy. A lot of times you're being coached to take blocks a certain way, and you're being coached to block people a certain way. So I'm not going to put everything on the player, but like I said, I do understand defensive-minded people, former defensive players, current defensive players being upset just because we don't have any rules to protect us at the end of the day. So anytime anything bad happened in a situation like this, of course, we're going to scream and shout and do all those type things because we want to be heard as well from a defensive standpoint.
Well, I just want to bring up something real quick when it comes to this, kind of the flip side. When an offensive player has the football and they're like, out on the edge, one-on-one, Bob Sanders was well known, like praised for the way he tackled by leading with his shoulder, driving through the legs, using his body, driving through the legs to tackle somebody. Is that a lot different than the blocking down there low as well? I mean, because
I think that's two different things. Like a guy running the football and a guy being tackled, like you got to tackle him by any means necessary.
Yeah.
There's no special way, even though they teach you how to form tackle, there's no special way that you have to, perform or do to get a guy on the ground. Your job as a defender is just make sure he gets on the ground. So I look at that, like when you're talking ball carriers, I look at that as different. I mean, you got to do whatever you got to do to, to tackle a guy. But when you're talking about, blocking a guy, using your hands, and all those type things that kind of come in, it can get tricky. Wide receivers do it to DBs. They'll run. A DB might be playing off the ball. They'll run at a guy. A guy thinks they're about to just engage with their hands, and at the last second, they'll just dive at their ankles. So the same token with a running back running the ball, if a guy dives at his ankles, try to grab anything that he can grab, and and you fall or you get tackled from that, then yeah. But if a guy is running the ball and he might be in a vulnerable state to where he might not see a guy coming from another angle and he's coming from behind and the guy just dives at his knees. Yeah, I mean, it's a certain etiquette that we talk about as players that you just don't do. Like you always want to protect guys. You're not intentionally trying to hurt guys. So if that was a situation, a guy might look at that as intentional. Like, I can't even see you. You're behind me. You're intentionally diving at my knees. Like that's intentional. But whenever it's, I can look at you, you see me coming, I see you coming. Like, you're just taught as a player to protect yourself at all times. Anything might happen, but the etiquette kicks in where you don't see someone coming or you're in a vulnerable state and your leg is here or that. Players know what they're doing when that type of stuff happens. So that's why I think that might be two just different type of situations.
Okay. I was, obviously just curious about that.
That was a good question, but it is a certain etiquette players abide by as far as when you're talking. Like you're not out there trying to hurt nobody, but
no.
Play with Thibodeau and the offensive lineman, they see each other, so at that same token, he's been coached and taught to how to defeat a cut block as well. I just think his technique and pad level at that specific play put him in a vulnerable state.
Well, I kind of look at, the injuries to Thibodeau and the injury to Paris Campbell 2 years ago look very similar situations, right? Like his leg got caught underneath of him. He was hit low, hit around the knees, right? You know what I'm saying? And they both end up going down due to it's just bad situation, bad, just bad all the way around. It just did not look good. And, you look at it and you go, that looks dirty, but at the same time, by the rule book right now, that's legal. Perfectly legal. Yeah. Yeah. It's just sometimes there's no rules that is going to make this game 100% safe. If it does, then there's no point in playing it because it ain't going to be fun to play or watch anymore, right? You're going to be out there in bubble wrap, as people like to say. Thanks so much for your insight for that situation. Really great hearing it from a former player's view. Guys, I think this is going to be it for today. If you are listening to this on audio podcast, wherever you listen to them, make sure you go check out my channel on YouTube. It's YouTube/C/Lawrence Owen, and go to this specific video and type in "Go Colts." Along with anyone watching this right now, make sure you type in "Go Colts." Those of you that type that into the comment section will be put in for the next giveaway for autographed shirts from training camp. And is there anything else you want to discuss before we get out of here?
Nothing yet. Couple more weeks.
Yeah, it's going to be fun. Yeah. There's going to be a lot to talk about after the Tampa game as well, because you will see the starters, right? And even though even though it's going to be, they're obviously not going to be scheming guys, we'll still be able to get to talk about it.
They'll scheme this game. If they're going to treat this as a dress rehearsal, you'll have a little bit of scheme.
Really?
Yeah.
Kind of scheming guys open and
dress rehearsal. You treat like a real game. So you go in there and you try to, you're watching film on the opponent. You're trying to prepare for what they might give you and all that. Now you might not see the entire playbook, obviously, but you'll see some, different type football to try to set up a win rather than just going about a script, if that makes sense. They treat dress rehearsals like the real thing.
So this is not just dress rehearsal for the players; it's dress rehearsal for the coaches as well. Then, basically,
yeah, everybody.
Okay.
Like, we're treating this like a game. How it'll be on a dang Sunday in October type thing. Like everything will be treated like dress rehearsal. Yep.
Awesome. That's going to be great to watch. Then, well, I think that'll do it for us. Appreciate each and every one of you for coming in and watching. And until next time, I'm Lawrence Owen. That was Jerraud Powers, and this was Bleav in Colts, brought to you by Bet Online, and as usual, go Colts.
Do you believe?